Hi everyone. I'll be honest, this was not the video I was planning on making today. I was actually planning on doing a video all about the great things Dexter and I do together when we have our Dexter and Mummy days, all the learning opportunities and the child-led play we do, all the out and about physical activities that I think are so important, etc, etc. But today we had a hard day. And this video, although it's unplanned, is, I think, a really important one. And now there's no point in me going into detail about exactly what happened today, but essentially we were out at a kids' trampoline place, and Dexter, who is my 4-year-old autistic son, if you're new here, was getting very, very fixed on certain things he wanted to do. And he became very unresponsive to my words, to what I was telling him, and then when I couldn't let him do exactly what it was that he wanted to do because it was dangerous, we had an aggressive outburst of frustration directed at me, and I couldn't retrieve the situation. Communication had broken down between us at that point. I might as well have been talking to the floor. Now Dexter isn't naturally an aggressive child, he never has been. It was pure and simple frustration around an inability to communicate. If you do follow us, you'll know that Dexter has an AAC device. He also, which I'm very, very grateful for, he has non-verbal communication through the use of gestures and sounds, recently sounds. But although these have been huge in helping us understand what he wants and what he needs, he cannot use these methods to explain everything that he is thinking. Plus, I feel like any communication on his part requires so much effort. So then when you throw intense emotion into the mix, communication just becomes too hard, and he resorts to the easiest method of communication, which is behaviour that is telling me quite clearly, Mum, I'm not happy, I can't regulate my emotions, and I'm frustrated that I cannot tell you what's wrong. In that moment, I felt angry. I was angry at the whole situation, angry at myself for not being able to manage it, angry that he struggles so much with communication, that certain things in his life are like 1,000 times harder than the average 4-year-old. And I think even most autistic 4-year-olds, if I'm honest, I just felt like I'd failed, like I wasn't managing it very well, like I wasn't doing enough. The thing is, Dexter is so smart in some areas. He can read and spell like a typically developing, 6 or 7-year-old. But we have a long way to go in terms of effective communication and emotional regulation. Anyway, the point of this video, I've had many comments since I started this channel about my approach being false and unrealistically positive, which is hilarious given that since I've reached true acceptance and understanding of autism and neurodiversity, I've actually never been more realistic about our lives and our son's future and what it means to be a neurodiverse family. Being positive is not about ignoring the hard days, it's about recognising them, it's about feeling the emotions and then moving forward in the most helpful way that you can. So I thought I'd explain exactly how I do that when I have a hard day. First of all, it's very easy to sink into a moment and let that moment become a representation of your whole life experience. So you have a hard day and suddenly all of your life feels hard, so much harder than everyone else's. But when you're raising a child who is different, you really have to learn to view these hard days, these hard moments in isolation. It is one day. I wrote in an Instagram post recently about how all life is just a series of temporary emotional states. temporary. So how specifically do I help myself to rediscover the positivity that I usually feel? Firstly, I let my unedited, raw and sometimes very ugly thoughts and feelings out to those who I know will help me feel better. And I know everybody is different, but for me those people aren't those who feed my negativity, because for me that can become then a vicious cycle of ranting, getting upset, feeling sorry for myself, ranting, and so on and so forth. So I actually turn to those who can validate my feelings whilst also feeding me with that reassurance and positivity that I need in that moment in time to get back to where I was. The next thing I will do is I will analyse the situation. I will look at what's happened and try and find connections, links with, why this happened, how I could maybe prevent it from happening in future, what my backup plan might be if this happens in future. Sometimes it doesn't matter how hard you look and how much you observe your child and how much you try and find those links, that you just cannot find a reason. I think this is particularly true the younger they are. I know that as Dexter's got older, I definitely feel like I understand him better. And I'm sure, in 2, 3, 4 years' time, I'll feel like I understand him then better than I do now. So give yourself some grace and go easy on yourself, because if you don't understand what's happening or why it's happened, there's no point dwelling on it. There's no point overthinking it. Move on. Okay, so another thing that I do is I let everyone in the household. Today it was just Dexter and I let us both have what we needed to regulate without. I did that without feeling guilty. And yes, I am careful to offer that in a way that doesn't cause Dexter to associate aggressive outbursts with treats. So for example, today when we left the trampoline place, we drove around for a while until he had calmed down, then had a snack, then drove home. I explained a bit about what happened and why we had to leave. It is hard to know how much he's actually processing or caring about, but I talk about it anyway because, presuming competence and all that jazz. But when we got home, I made life as easy as I could for us both. For Dexter, that meant screen time, a blanket, and some time alone. For me, it was coffee, a phone call to somebody, and just some thinking time. The next thing I do in the quest to rediscover how to put on my positivity pants is to make a really mindful attempt at keeping all of whatever's just happened in perspective. I do this by recalling like a recent bit of progress or happy time that we had recently. This is easy for me to do because I take so many photos and videos of all the wonderful times and the new skills we've learned, and we have really promising skills emerging at the minute. So really all I have to do is lose myself in my phone camera roll for a while. Job done. I also put no further expectations on the rest of the day. I reduce demands on him as much as possible, because if I keep trying too hard and it doesn't work and we both get stressed again so soon after the last stressful event, then the more times it happens in the same 24-hour period, the harder it is to come back from emotionally. So for example, today I needed to go to the shop, but just for today I wanted to eliminate the possibility of a repeat situation, so I did it online instead. I also had an activity in mind that I wanted to do with him, but I could see he'd reached his limit for the day, so I shelved it until tomorrow. And finally, I make a really conscious effort to really bring to mind and visualise an event in the future that I'm really looking forward to. So today that was 2 things. That was a date afternoon with Mark that we're planning on Saturday, which is the first time we've been alone with a babysitter in literally years. And also an upcoming family break that we have at the end of March. But it doesn't even need to be such a big thing. It could be you're looking forward to getting to the end of the day and watching an episode of a box set or having a glass of wine or something. Do you know what? Hard days happen. Parenting is difficult. Whoever your child is, when your child is differently wired, that can bring a whole new set of challenges. But these children are so wonderful and so worth it. And the joy that they bring is in equal amounts to a neurotypical child. Mindset really is everything. I hope this was helpful in some way and not just an excuse for me to ramble and let out my emotions of the day. But if it was, then thanks for listening anyway, and I will be back soon with another, hopefully better video.